If you've ever told yourself it's too late or caught yourself playing smaller than you know you're capable of, this conversation is for you.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness, be audacious, motivation, be audacious, innovation, be audacious, inspiration, be bold, motivation, be audacious.
That is interesting. Like, what is a life without challenges? Not that I'd wish anything, traumatic on anybody, anything like that, not at all. But yeah, there is something about every time something difficult happens, there's this opportunity to elevate or to upgrade ourselves. Awareness of their feelings and thoughts is the number one thing. A lot of people, and awareness of how they're shaping their lives. Like, what were your dreams like 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What are your dreams today? If they're smaller, it's time for you to get that, magnifying glass out and start to look around. Because I realized I could do anything. And before I thought I was dreaming big, but again, everything was scared. Everything was kind of muted.
Yes.
And after that, it's like, only dream big dreams. If you're not dreaming big, there's some fear.
Because what if the thing holding you back isn't your circumstance, but the story you've been telling yourself about it? This podcast is all about helping you live your best audacious life and unlock your inner greatness. It's always such a pleasure to be here. Today's guest is Chanoa Inez. She is an author of the latest new book, Dream On: How to Create the New Life of Your Dreams After Upheaval or Loss, and the creative and powerful approach that blends personal transformation with personal branding. This definitely is a powerful conversation. Chanoa had so much fabulous insights to share. In fact, there was a moment in the conversation where she literally said something that stopped me in my tracks. She talked about how, she thought she had moved past her grief, only to realize that it was still quietly shaping her life in the background. And what that did, it actually caused her to shrink without even knowing it. And one of the reasons that's so powerful is, and I think there are a lot of people in that situation, and I even found myself thinking, how many of us are doing that exact same thing right now? I'm telling you, this conversation will definitely make you think. Here's my chat with Chanoa. Enjoy. Hey, Chanoa, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for being here and doing this. This is great.
Thank you, Audley. It's great to be here.
Yeah, no, I often and always sort of talk about the fact that it's a blessing to kind of get in these kind of conversations and it's funny, you're talking about good stuff, right? Which is just awesome first and foremost. But then the whole idea that we could be chatting and others have the opportunity to eavesdrop into what we're saying and potentially take something from our chat and use it in their own lives is so mad cool. And so I'm glad that we're able to do this, and thanks for kind of helping me further the journey a little bit here.
Yeah, you got it.
Gotcha. Now, I often start sort of analogy, if you will, of the journey of life, right? And I use this pathway as that analogy, right? So we're all on our own individual path, and on that pathway, we're going to have our own fair share of trials, obstacles, pitfalls, things that perhaps could knock us over. Sure, all of that's there, but at the same time, there's lots of good stuff as well too. I think the key in that journey is understanding that it is our path, and we accept all that's on that, right? And that all feeds into who we are, and eventually where we end up. And so, I think that really helps frame things in people's minds. But I also kind of think it's very much in line with the work that you do in helping people understand things like purpose and that having inner awareness of self, and even self-love is a big part of that journey also. And so I think it's great to have you here to have this conversation. And so maybe as a starting point, and get you to introduce yourself to our audience or talk about the work that you do, and then what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Okay. The second part's a big question, but I'll start with what I do. So, my
Yeah.
name's Chanoa Inez. I'm the author of Dream On: How to Create the New Life of Your Dreams After Upheaval or Loss. And I'm also the creator of Magnetize Your Personal Brand, which could be described as personal transformation meets personal branding. It takes some of the principles from my book and also combines my experience from years as a copywriter and strategist as far as messaging and positioning, but
Mhm.
applying it to people. um, yeah, so it was, as you can tell from the title of my book, that obviously I had my own difficult challenge to overcome.
Mhm.
And we can go through the details of that, but if we want to look at like a kind of a 90-foot description of that, basically, years after I went through something very difficult, I thought I had gotten past that grief. And only when I reached a certain level of joy and fulfillment in my life did I realize, wow, that was actually always there until I
Mhm.
kind of stepped out of that cloud. And that's when I had the inspiration to write the book. I realized I was actually nervous to write the book, but I realized this is a book I need to write because nobody needs to carry that for so long. It can be
Mhm.
much
Mhm.
easier. Yeah.
I like that. This is the book I need to write. I think that's very powerful. That in itself is a very powerful line. I needed to write this. Explain why that, if you wouldn't mind.
It was a feeling. It was a feeling. It was, you could say it was my intuition. I don't know, it was a very strong message that I needed to write the book. And it was a book that if I'd had access to that book, it would have made my life a lot easier and very different. Not that I would go back and change those things, but if I had at the time, for sure, that would have been wonderful. um, but it was something I had to do. And then I got into the book writing process,
Yep.
and it was basically writing itself. I had so many ideas all the time, but then there were a couple of months where I didn't touch it. And I had every, logical reason explaining why my schedule was busy. And then I realized
Yes.
I was intimidated by the process. So once I realized that, then I got back into it and finished it at record speed. But it was very important for me to get this book out there. It's uplifting, and it's kind of it's a page turner, even though it's nonfiction. It really
Hmm.
carries the reader along, kind of comforting like a friend. But there are so many opportunities to reflect and to actually take action in their lives. So,
The idea of going through things and thinking you're on the other side only to resurface. So I can imagine it's shocking, initially because you're like, "Whoa, I thought I dealt with this, and now we're doing this again," kind of a thing. Um, I remember actually want to go back. I had a friend of mine once who yeah, went through some challenges, and like and I remember it was a big declaration. I gotta go heal myself, kind of thing, and went off up on the top of the hill, and sequestered herself from the rest of the world, and this is where I am, and I'm healing myself. And then it was like, okay, I'm healed, and came back down the hill to enjoy, join the rest of us, right, in society, and only
uh-oh.
to discover that the more she faced that thing, she wasn't healed. And,
Yeah.
and and I think what happens is that there's a belief that if I go away, right, it'll the thing will be it'll fix itself, but you don't know until you run into challenges. You don't know how difficult, or you know how resilient you are, or capable
Right.
you are, right? So it's easy to be away from it and go, yeah, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. But you're not facing it, right? You got to come into it
Yes.
to be able to say, okay, now I'm good, right?
Yes, I've seen that happen many times. I'm an advanced meditator. I love to go to retreats. But we really know, like, you can have all these breakthroughs and realizations there, but
Yes.
really the work is when you come home, and you continue to do that work and you apply it to those challenges, a challenging, I don't know, dynamic could be like with family or friends, a
Yeah, yeah.
neighbor, an issue. But a lot of people are like, oh, what do I do? I just want to, be in a longer retreat. But it's like, well, that's actually the work because we can all feel good when we have our eyes closed in a meditation or doing a walking meditation. But
Yes.
now, how can you react in, when the driver cuts you off and steals your
Yeah.
spot and all of that? That's
Yeah.
really the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, another friend of mine. She returned back home to be with her parents, and it drove her crazy. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot how crazy this was. I can't stay here, right?" Like, that's really funny.
Right,
It's easy.
right.
Again, it's
That's
easy
the
to be
homework.
away. Yeah, it's easy to be away and go, "I'm good." But and we're laughing, and it's funny, but it really there's some truth to this in terms
Yeah.
of you got to face these things head on because it's really about testing your own resilience, your own levels of resilience, and how far you've come along isn't known until you see this thing head on. And so I think and I
Right.
think what that does is also, if you go back to the analogy about that pathway, we need to have some rocky pathways. We need to have some, it can't, if it's smooth sailing, whatever, like, okay, sure. Life was good, I guess, but was it really like what we were mocking out, right? And so there's some truth to
Yeah.
that, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And that is interesting. Like, what is a life without challenges? Not that I'd wish anything, traumatic on anybody, anything like that, not at all. But yeah, there is something about every time something difficult happens, there's this opportunity to elevate or to upgrade ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
have to do it in that way, but those big moments are, yeah, pretty crucial.
I oftentimes remind people that when it comes to challenges in life, we are 100% undefeated. And the reason why I know that is because we're here right now talking about them.
Yes, it's
We're
so
here.
true.
We're here. Like if that wasn't the case, then we wouldn't be able to talk. Well, yeah, yesterday I did this, and last week I had to deal with that, and we're here. We got through it. So, and I say that because there's some incredible power in recognizing our journey and what we've overcome in terms of what it does helping us move forward. So,
Mm.
if you feel that it's because and that's a big fan. I feel my head's going. I'm excited again. But I'm a really big fan of celebrating our wins, right?
Yeah.
And because when you celebrate your wins and celebrate your successes and your achievements, you're giving yourself credit for what you've done, one, but you're also reminding yourself of your greatness too. So
Yes.
when tomorrow this thing happens, right? That you're like, oh, I didn't like it, it hurt, it was painful. You're like, yeah, but last week I did that. All right, cool. Let's deal with it, move on.
It's so helpful. Years ago, I was in a business coaching program for
Hmm.
copywriters, and now my
Hmm.
coach, she's now a colleague and friend. But I remember she told us, like, every time someone t tells you something good about you, like a win you've had in business, she's like, mark it and put it in a folder in your email called the file. And I still do this, even with my email address, which is for my author program, for my personal branding program. And it's so good because if you're ever having a day where maybe you're going to reach for a bigger goal than you've ever done before and you're feeling a little intimidated or whatever, you need a little push,
Yes,
just go and
yes.
look at the emails and it's just like, yeah, okay.
So so um um so we connected on Podmatch, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Podmatch has this wonderful feature reviews where people who've been guests, whatever, they write and go, hey, whatever. I've been doing this for a little while, so I think I've got like, I don't know, 250 reviews,
Mhm.
right? And every so often I go back and read them, just remind myself, oh yeah, he was great. Like the idea of being told that you're great 250 times, how do you not feel good about it?
Right.
I'm not saying this from an egotistical, or that's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the
Mhm.
standpoint of reminding yourself who you are, because that is an important process to go through.
Right. And you could probably think back from before you started your podcast, any doubts you had, and now when you can contrast that and with all these reviews you've had and how much you've done.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so, yeah, I think that there is some value in that. So it's not about, yeah, sure, you're pumping your tires a little bit and feeling good about yourself, sure, but it's also just reminding, like, yeah, who I am. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm that guy, and that's what you need to. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that way because when
No.
challenges come, and also, you're gonna want that guy to show up, right? That's the
Oh,
guy who you want to
definitely.
show up.
The self-love's important. It's definitely not like an egotistical thing. It's like if you're not your number one cheerleader, who's gonna be that?
This is
Like
it.
you need that foundation for sure.
So talk about. I mean, I've talked a lot about what I do to get through my challenges. What kind of things when you come in, whether it be profound loss or setbacks, or whatever? What sort of things have been helpful for you on your journey?
The number one would be advanced meditation. And I would say outside of an actual specific practice, I would say it was I really transformed what self-love, my definition of self-love. I always thought I had that down pat,
Hmm.
and then I realized that I didn't at one point because a few years back. or I guess more than a few years now, like 5 years ago, because I realized, oh, I have these friendships that are like not good. And the people I spend the most time with, I'm like, how do I allow that to be? And then I realized, yeah, self-love is not just, oh, I did my meditation. Oh,
Right.
encouraging myself to do X, Y, Z. It's like, well, also it's like, what do you allow in your life?
Yeah. Yeah. Boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's important to have that. And actually, interesting is when we talk about audacity, sometimes feel people think that audacity is big things like I've climbed the mountain, I skydive, I biked across the
Yeah.
country, and absolutely without question, those are audacious things, right? But audacity can be very quiet. And so, for
Hmm.
example, showing yourself love, setting boundaries, maybe disconnecting from people that don't bring what the things that you need in life. That's quite audacious as well because you're making a personal choice for yourself, as you describe. And I think it's so key.
Oh, it's so important. Even, st taking a step back, like external validation, it's helpful and it's nice, but then not needing that, and just kind of reassessing a relationship with everything that we've kind of been, taught as a society just to like adopt. Like, I need to worry, what's
Yeah.
going to happen if I post this and what if people don't care? Getting past all that stuff to see it doesn't actually matter
Yes.
if anyone cares. And then through that evolution of the self, that's when things start happening.
Got you. Got you. You speak of joy, right? It's something that you've in this conversation you raised a couple times, and I've seen in your material. Joy is a important part of your work, if you will,
Yeah.
and I think if I'm so bold to say, I think for you, joy isn't optional. It's not
No.
optional at all. Um, uh, I wonder why that is, and maybe, and I guess, and I'm actually thinking even after a period of upheaval, right? I can see
Hmm.
where joy is even that much more critical. I wonder if you can elaborate on that further, and why joy is that important, or how you identified that to be.
Yeah. So when I was still grappling with the sudden loss of my boyfriend, that started that whole story.
Hmm.
Um, for years I thought I was happy. And if people ask me, how are you? I would think I was happy. Or like if they'd ask, are you happy? I'd say yes. And I thought I was telling the truth. And I thought I really felt that way. But it was a very logical left brain answer. I didn't actually feel that answer. And joy is very different because you can't be like mechanical about it. You can't say like I'm feeling joyful and be like stoic when you say it. It's like happiness that's energized.
Hmm.
So I really like that because I know that if you're in a place in your life where you can feel joy, you have a clear picture of really how well you're doing. If you're not able to access that, then you realize, okay, I'm not really, like what do I need to look at right now? What's going on? I'm not really at that capacity.
Right, right. And you can't fake joy. You
No, you
just
can't fake
can't.
it.
You can try,
Yeah.
but you can see right through it a mile away,
Maybe
can't you?
an Oscar award-winning actor for a role, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true, and you can. Um, it's funny because and sometimes you'll see people who are operating sort of outside of their authentic selves,
Hmm.
and they'll say like you said, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." You're like, "No, you're not. Like you're
Yeah.
not fooling me. You're
It's an
absolutely not fine,
autopilot
right?
answer.
You're
Yeah,
not
I've seen people
fine."
answer that and they looked like their face looked miserable. I was like, you don't realize I'm gonna hold a mirror to your face. It's like,
No,
just so
yeah.
you know.
It's so funny, and I would go, I'd rather you just tell me you don't want to talk about it. But I'm
Hmm.
not dumb. I'm looking right at you, man. Tell me not to talk about it.
Yeah, well, at least that's a little better if somebody just doesn't feel like telling somebody
Sure,
else. But I think
sure.
the biggest danger is when someone doesn't see it for themselves and they think they're fine. So then they're living this life where they're still feeling the effects of whatever's happened, but they think they've moved on and they
Right.
haven't. And so they start to shrink back. They're playing smaller in their lives, and that's a really tricky place where I think a lot of people get stuck for a long time.
Okay. So let's talk about that. How do you unstuck yourself then in those
Hmm.
situations?
Hmm. Oh, well,
Or the
it's going to
starting
take
point,
some
and also
awareness.
I will also say I know it's not going to be the exact same for everyone, right? Like it's going to be
Right,
different, right? So I'll
for
preface
sure.
that.
I mean, ideally, you don't get into that place because that's a little trickier. But if a person's in that place and they're open to seeing that maybe there's something that they're not seeing, number one, I would just say awareness of their feelings and thoughts is the number one thing. A lot of people, and awareness of how they're shaping their lives. Like, what were your dreams like 5 years ago, 10 years ago? What are your dreams today? If they're smaller, it's time for you to get that, magnifying glass out and start to look around because something has happened. You've had a crisis in self-confidence. Something has happened where you're afraid to lose, so you
Hmm.
just decide not to reach for anything that you can't not reach. And
Mm,
it's time to now start examining the patterns of thoughts you're having. What are the things in your life, aspects of your life that you're not happy about that you've just become complacent to?
right, right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right, right. Tell me, Chanoa, when did you I guess, come to the realization, or how did you come to the realization of the significance of dreaming and the importance it has in our lives?
I've always thought it was important, but when I lost a dream, so just a little context. I was living in Miami and my boyfriend at the time, he lived in Montenegro. And when I went there on vacation, I didn't want to come back. I fell in love with it. So we made a plan. We'd go there the next summer. And if it worked out with our businesses, we'd stay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, we had a perfect day that first day of the next summer, the time that the trip to stay for vacation and then to stay there. Perfect day with his family in the capital, then a perfect evening in the seacoast. And it was the first time in my life up until then that I thought everything was perfect.
Okay.
And I woke up in the morning and unfortunately he did not. And it was just, a clot surprise. And my life just spiraled. It was just like, so it was the first time I'd had a dream just disappear.
Right.
And I wouldn't even say it was one dream because one, it was him passing, then all the different dreams we shared together.
Gone
So
away.
it was multiple dreams at once.
Mm,
So, obviously there was like, I went through this dark period, I came out of there, and I thought I was living life and that I was happy. I didn't know that I was shrinking back and playing small. I was doing that for a long time. Um, and
and did you see that through your dreams? I know earlier you talked about smaller dreams. Were you making smaller
yeah,
dreams?
oh, for sure.
Give
Much
me an
smaller
idea how
dreams.
small you went. Like, I'm just curious. I'm so.
I mean, it was just very basic. It was just very basic. And I think I just didn't, I felt so disappointed in life and I didn't want to feel disappointment again. So
Mm,
that's what it was. So I would say, it made me sound funny to say this, but thankfully I developed a lot of health challenges from that grief because it set me off on this quest. I had to figure it
yes.
out.
Yes.
And so through that, everything I tried, meditation, yoga, plant medicine retreat in Peru. I tried everything and everything kind of helped, but nothing was really dramatic. But in that eventually I moved back to I ended up staying after he passed away.
Okay.
When I moved back to the States, that helped because I broke my identity and I moved to LA, which I think it also helps. It's in the air. I'm not in the entertainment industry,
Hmm.
but it's the city of dreams. Everything's focused
Right.
on that. And I
Yeah.
actually literally lived in the neighborhood beneath the Hollywood sign when I first moved here. So
Okay. Okay.
it
Okay. Okay.
helps. That emblem, I would walk outside my building and it's right there.
You remember the dream every
So
time you looked up, right?
yeah, so everyone's dreaming bigger, and you start to,
Yes.
and I realized, like, whoa, like I realized I was like living kind of in suspended animation. But I was still, very motivated. I was like, really doing great work for my clients, and I felt like, oh, I was really like doing all these things, but it was very like, it was limited.
Okay.
So that helped. And then when I changed those friendships I told you that were just like the toxic friendships, then I realized, oh my gosh, like I have to pay attention to self-love. I started doing more advanced meditation, and then that's when I changed that whole foundation. I started dreaming big again because I realized I could do anything. And before I thought I was dreaming big, but again, everything was scared. Everything was kind of
Yes.
muted. And
Yes.
after that, it's like, oh, only dream big dreams. If you're not dreaming big, there's some fear. There's something that's we all we're all here to do big things, I think.
Yes. Yes. And so, no, I agree with you. I think that we are. I believe that we are. I think what happens is sometimes we forget, or
Yes.
sometimes life reminds us of the distracts us, or we go in a different direction and we move away from ourselves. And so, I want to talk about authenticity and the importance of,
Mhm.
of of staying true to who we are, because that's integral when it comes to dreaming, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. Whew. It's like, I think it's, it's, I mean, that's the heart of my personal branding program, for example, because a lot of people, they focus more on the external factors, which certainly, they have an important role. It's great how people present themselves or the
Mhm.
visual identity for their website, etc. But really, if people are showing up just like as a character, as like this is the avatar of this successful person in this industry, and this is what people expect of me, they might get some small wins, but they'll be very forgettable very quickly because all of us, our true essence, who we really are, that's really what your personal brand is, and then how it's perceived.
Mhm.
That's what gets people really passionate about what you're doing, about
Right.
you, your purpose, who you serve, and everything like that. So even if they're not even someone who could be a client of yours, for example, they're always going to remember you when they hear of some opportunity that would be, in your wheelhouse. So I think people are afraid because a lot of people want to hide. They don't want to be the center of attention. And I'm like, it's not about attention. It's like take yourself out of the equation. It's about getting attention for your purpose, the purpose you're serving, and the people you're helping. And if you're not putting yourself out there, you're not fulfilling that duty. And the other thing is a lot of people have a scarcity mindset. So they're like, if I focus on who I really am, I'm basically niching down. I'm showing myself as being unique. And so
Right.
I'm going to lose followers or I'm going to lose potential clients. And it's like, if you're trying to make everyone happy, you're going to disappear anyway. It's just going to happen very slowly. But if you niche down like that, yeah, some people you're not going to be their cup of tea. But the
Right.
people, like when it resonates, it really resonates. That's really, I think, where the magic starts to compound.
I remember once she was a career coach. A woman had approached me about being a guest on my podcast. Hey, I want to come on my podcast. I want to talk about it. I'm like, great, that sounds fantastic. And we sort of briefly in our exchange talked about the idea of betting on yourself, right? Like taking chances
Mm-hmm.
on yourself and taking that gamble. I'm like, this is fantastic. This is great. And she had asked me if we wanted, it's funny I'm saying, she asked me if we could do a pre-interview. Right? And I said, I don't really do those. Let's just kind of jump into it. Let's talk. And then I even joked, let's be audacious. Let's go. Let's try this. And she responded back and said, you know what? Maybe this isn't gonna work for me. Sorry, this isn't a good fit. And she backed out of the interview. And I remember going, what? Like come on, this is perfect. And I remember for a moment I was caught in this like, oh, like, wow, like she should, and I'm thinking I should write her back and I said, let's stop. You're not for everyone. To your point, right?
Uh-huh,
You're
uh-huh.
not for everyone, and you're not here to please everyone. And quite frankly, I would say that anytime that someone makes a decision to step away from us, to go in another direction, that is a very audacious choice for themselves. And again, a
Mm,
quiet audacity to make that choice for themselves. And so I said, no problem,
mm.
all the best, congratulations on your journey, and I hope well for you, right? But it's to your
Yeah.
point that you're not going to service
No,
everyone.
no. If you think about the people you've admired most throughout history, I mean, even no matter how amazing they are, there's nobody who has won everybody over. It doesn't exist.
No,
It's not a,
no, no.
it's,
And
it's a myth.
well, it is, but again, and I think that's all the more reason why we need to be authentic to ourselves,
Mm.
because if we're chasing everyone, then who are we? Right? That leads to that question: who are we? Because we're a person that chases others, but we haven't established what we are because we've changed that to suit this person, and the next person we had to suit them, so we changed over there. And I remember getting a very
Oh,
serious
yeah.
conversation with someone once, and it was a very reflective moment, and she had said to me that she's like, I'm very very exhausted
Wow.
because I'm trying to please everyone, and I don't know who I am anymore,
Mm.
right? And that was such a powerful statement. And I remember
Yeah.
just saying, okay, then why are we trying to please everyone? Like, let's
Right.
start there. Like, why do you
Right.
think it's important to? Well, yeah, so it is exhausting, my point, and you're
It's
risk
exhausting. Yes.
you're at risk of losing yourself. That's where I'm going with this.
It really is. And, it's definitely can be uncomfortable to turn things down or to, put the foot down, but it's very temporary. and it's freeing. It frees your energy to do more of the things that you love.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I want to talk about us getting in our own way. Um, I think that many of us are guilty of that. Many of us sort of block our blessings, as my mom would say,
Mm,
as opposed to allowing things to naturally play themselves out. There's this need for me to control things.
yes, yes.
And part of control is understanding that we don't have control over everything and some things just have to let go. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Oof. The need to control is it's a big block for a lot of people. I also know people who are very aware of, for example, my journey of change and evolution, and they know what's worked for me. And they'll even ask for recommendations about, for example, like the meditations I do to send to their friends. But meanwhile, they could use these things and they don't do it for themselves.
Right.
And why? Because they want to control. So it's very hard to, you know, do anything that doesn't involve kind of gripping the steering wheel. I mean, I don't want to get too far off track with your question there, but I mean, it's a big topic, control.
Hmm.
And it seems like the successful way to get things done, but it's really not. There's so many of these external factors. Um, and, I think success is a combination of knowing when to actually take action and to surrender to trust because there are just so many things outside of our control. So if you're trying to control, I don't know, your children, there's no winning. If you're trying to control, your employees, everything is going to be an uphill battle because we're all here and, obviously we need to respect one another and there are certain power structures in a company or something like that but we all have our own basically our own agendas. We all have our own purposes, and
Hmm.
people who are obsessed with the need to control are often the most unhealthy people, at least I know in my life. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the question. I just went off like into
Yeah, no, no,
thinking.
no. It was control piece, right? And letting go.
And letting go. Yeah, getting in our own way. So, you know, a lot of the journey of just kind of looking at ourselves and seeing, how did I get here? Where do I want to go? And
Yep.
where's the disconnect? That requires us to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And if you want to control, you don't usually even want to be uncomfortable, even when you're the only audience. No one's going to know what you're
Yeah.
seeing. But it's a very difficult because there's like I also want to like grip onto this image I've created for the world that I also want to believe about myself.
Yeah, it is. And and again, I just go back to the fact that we end up blocking our dreams, right? Like from that life. Like so, for example, I know you referenced or creating the life that you love, right? Like
Yeah.
those are things that impede that and get in the way of having that and getting away our dreams as well. And so, releasing, accepting, not controlling are all sort of and all those things all kind of point us in that direction. I would say.
Yeah, and having a certain level of flexibility because things don't usually go exactly how we're planning.
They don't.
So if you can just enjoy the ride and be ready for these like contingencies and detours, it's gonna be a lot more enjoyable.
So on that creating a life that you love, what does that look like in practice?
Hmm. Um, well, one, starting with what's my purpose?
Hmm.
Why am I here? What do I want to do? Whether someone even works or not, it's like everybody has a purpose. Um, and then thinking about, okay, well, what are my values? What must I have in my life? My ideal life, what is non-negotiable? And then what do I no longer want to see in that life? So just kind of painting this clear picture. And then thinking about, okay, not like a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan, but like if I could snap my fingers and transform my entire life right now, what would
Right.
that look like? what would be going on? And then I think it's important because people often feel self-conscious in that process. The doubt starts to come in right away, like, oh, this is silly, I can't do that. Or who am I to think like this? Or they feel selfish. So I think it's also important to think about, okay, if I change this area of my life and I achieve this, who else is going to benefit from that?
Hmm.
And then you have more, almost more skin in the game, so to speak. You
Right.
can start
Right.
getting more excited about it because you're like, oh, this leads to that, and it
Yep.
compounds the rewards. And then it's important to look at yourself and to say, okay, am I capable of living this life? And if I'm not, why is that? So I can bridge the gap. So is it that, somebody's still trying to be a people pleaser? You can't
Right.
be authentic 100% of the
Yep.
time if you're a people pleaser.
Hmm. Hmm.
Those two things are at odds, for example. Or, I don't know, are you a procrastinator or, you have
Right.
all these ideas and you never actually complete these ideas you have to launch for your business, right? It's always
Hmm.
like, so it's my book, for example, I set it up so you're going through all of this more introspective, more of like this, the inner work. And then when it's a time to dream big, it's really just time to have fun. So I won't go back into all of those, creating, feeling that disconnect. But dreaming big, I mean, it's really about going up.
Yes.
Audacious goals is definitely audacious is the word. And not thinking about how you won't get there. Just keep thinking
Gotcha.
about what do I desire, and you can start making your baby steps to get there.
You know, it's funny. Well, first off, the folks in the marketing department are very pleased that you dropped the word audacious a couple times, so they're going to be thankful for that. So thank you. But I also do think that when you focus on the individual steps, right? And so yes, there's this big goal in front of us where we're trying to get to. It's huge, it's massive. I want my face on Mount Rushmore. Okay, oh, that's a huge one, and oh my gosh, and how are you going to get there? It's by a series of audacious steps. That's what
Yeah.
gets you there, right? And
Yeah.
so the key is to focus on the thing that you have in front of you and just make it, continue one in front of the other. I have something called the bold framework. I still there bold framework, and it's
Uh-huh.
actually an acronym in the sense of BOLD. And really, it's so the idea is it's the framework will help you live your best audacious life. And so the
Mm.
B, which is very much what we're talking about here, it stands for better than yesterday. And so
Oh,
if
yeah.
if it's really along the lines of continuous improvement. So I started here today, and that's fantastic. You climbed that mountain, and I'm so happy, and I hope you celebrated it, and I hope you felt good about it. I hope you share it with your family and friends. But there's another bigger mountain tomorrow you can climb. So let's
Yes.
just jump on that one, right? Enjoy today, but tomorrow is the bigger one. The O is outlast adversity. That's and again we know challenge. We talked about challenges are going to come, and so it's incumbent on us to outlast those adverse periods because
Mm.
on the other side of that is kind of where the greatness lies.
Right.
The L, as we're going through this, the L in the framework stands for something that we already touched on is live your truth, right?
Hmm.
And it's really we just talk about authenticity. It's really about being authentic to yourself. And then
Right.
lastly, the D is disruptive norm, which is just being a trailblazer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think of the Wright brothers when they were trying to fly a plane, and everyone thought they were crazy and out of mind, and what are you guys doing? And people are going to think you're nuts, right? But they did it anyways, and now look how
Yeah.
important flying is to us. And so the idea is that throughout it's not a linear do this do this do this. It's just it meets you where you're at, right? Like maybe you're already living your authentic self, but you still struggle when it comes to challenges and adversity. So how do you focus on that? And that's really what it reminds us of. But what started that conversation with Bull Framework is really that letter B, well, being better than yesterday and continuing to build on that. And you build
Hmm.
on that one audacious step after the other,
Mm.
one foot in front of the other, and you make it
Yes.
bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you get your face on Mount Rushmore.
It's so true. And I don't let a day go by that I don't think about my dreams. And so every day it's like, wait, you're training your brain. So every day it's like, oh, what am I doing today that's going to be connected to that? And maybe
Yeah,
going
yeah.
back again to it later on in the day because the day got disrupted or distracted. It's like, just keep it as your North Star. Just write it down. Where,
Yeah.
where are you going?
So then what do you say to that person who says, it's too late? I've been this way my whole life, and it's too late to dream again. It's too late to
No.
set big goals. It's too late to go after the things I want.
Uh, I You're not so special as for it to be too late for you. It's never too late. So I'm sorry. You're not so special. I went to college for fashion merchandising, and I had two classmates who were in their 50s.
Okay.
And I'd taken a few years off of school, so I thought I was going to be the oldest in my class, and I was not. And one was an attorney who decided she wanted to start her own fashion brand, but she wanted to learn the other sides of the industry, which is what I studied, everything else, the business side. And but she was an attorney because her parents were attorneys, and they said you're going to be an attorney. So her children went to college, and then she's like, "All right, I'm going back. I'm starting over." And another woman, I think she was in the medical field, same story. Or going even more dramatically, these meditation retreats I go to that are very intense. My new friend from the last retreat, she's 80.
Wow.
And yeah, more energetic than most of the younger people I was there hanging out with. And I have seen people that are 90 something years old. And these are meditations designed not to like relax and whatever, it's to change. It's to change, and you practice these emotions of your futures and where you're going. So when you see, a husband and wife in their 90s there, I'm like, there's no excuse. Our lives are a gift. And if someone were to start moving towards that life of their dreams and their life was to end a week later, their life was still better for that. Like you deserve
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. My mother's 82, and a few weeks ago I remember we were talking, and she literally said to me in as straight face as possible and very sincere, she said, "My best days are in front of me."
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Wow. And like said it with conviction and belief. And I said, "Yeah, okay. No problem, Mom. We're good. We good. Do your
Wow.
thing. Do your thing."
Done, done. It's truth.
Yeah, yeah,
Stamp. That's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, I mean, that's beautiful. But this conversation has been beautiful. I gotta tell you, Chanoa, this has been just a lot of fun and lots of great insights. And um, we do something here called a fearless fast round, rapid fire question. I say something, you tell me what comes to mind first, and
Okay.
you up for that? Is that okay?
Let's
Is that
go. Let's
okay?
go.
Yeah, okay, good. I like that. I
Up for
like
the challenge.
that competitive spirit. Okay, let's try something easy. Morning ritual or evening retreat or reflection rather.
Uh, Evening
Stillness or movement.
movement.
One word you'd use to describe joy.
Effervescent.
Ah, I like that one. I like that one. Is there a belief that you had to unlearn?
Yes. Do you want to know that belief?
Absolutely. That's a follow up
Yeah.
question.
Oof. I would say that I am not good. I had that since I was a child. You have to prove your worth, perfect
Mm,
grades and everything. So got rid of that one. You're
gotcha.
inherently good. Done.
Love it. Love it. I love it. Favorite way to reset your energy?
Ooh. Um, Walking meditation.
Okay. Okay. Thinking about sort of your work in the branding space, right, and personal branding that you do. What makes someone uh, instantly memorable?
Ooh. Um, Passion.
We connect with passion, don't we?
Yeah, for sure.
We do. We do.
It's like joy. You can feel it
Yes,
in
there
the
we go.
air.
Yeah, they work hand in hand, hand in hand. A practice you return to when life gets heavy.
Mm. I mean, I don't want to keep repeating meditation, but it's always
That's the
that.
answer. That's the answer. That's the answer, right? Is there a book that shifted sort of your inner world?
Hmm. Quite a few. We can say The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. What does audacity mean to you?
Bold moves.
Okay. Okay. Comfort or growth?
Oh, growth.
And then lastly, one truth you wish more people embraced.
Wow. Um, that we can do anything.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. I'm seeing how I'm certainly not AI has its uses, right? It's great
Hmm.
for so many uses, but I keep thinking about how a lot of people want to outsource our humanity, but they haven't actually seen just how far we can go. So I think it's important for us to not stop that exploration at the same time.
It's funny. I think back every time something, a new idea comes along and there's this wave that drives goes to it and everyone jumps on board and goes, this is the thing. This is going to take us to the net, right? And then as time goes on, like, no, that wasn't it. And they come back, we come
Yeah.
back to square one again, right? I'm like, no, it's the starting end point is always humanity. Like you can't get
Yeah,
around that.
that's it. Yes, it's strange. It's always kind of like a here it is, fix us, fix us, solve our problems.
That's right. That's right. That's
And
true.
meanwhile, as time goes on, I'm more and more fascinated by people. People are so interesting, and it's people are important.
Well, I would say this conversation was very, very interesting, Chanoa, and I really do appreciate the insights and perspectives that you offered for our listeners that wanted to connect with you directly, learn more about your work, get a copy of your book. And the title again, give us the title again of the book.
Yes, it's Dream On: How to Create the New Life of Your Dreams After Upheaval or Loss.
Love it. I love it. Bring on the upheaval and lofts because we're going to turn our lives around. That's what I'd say. And where can we send our listeners?
ChanoaInez.com, ChanoaInez.com.
And we will make sure that all the appropriate contact details are in the show notes. Chanoa, again, thank you for this. This has been, again, very enlightening and very informative, and I do appreciate the time. Certainly, congratulations on your personal journey. I think that's
Yeah,
worth
thank you.
identifying and highlighting because it took you some work to get to the point that you are. In fact, to write a book and be vulnerable, there's a lot of work that goes into that too, and you did that. So I want to congratulate you on that, and thank you again for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Thank you, Audley.
Welcome back. We are, we actually started this conversation with a bit of a mix up, trying to figure out, which link we were supposed to get on. And somehow that turned into one of the most honest and grounded conversations we've had on this podcast in a little while. And I got to tell you, really brought, I'm appreciative for her doing that. But here's the thing, Shimanoa really reminded us of this. You don't always realize you're playing small. Sometimes it feels like you've moved on. Sometimes it feels like you're okay. But underneath that, there's something unresolved. And that something, it's still shaping your decisions. It's still shrinking your dreams. And what hit me the most, was her honesty or around that moment, particularly, when she realized that she wasn't dreaming big anymore, not because she couldn't, but because she was protecting herself from that disappointment. And I gotta tell you, that's real. It's real for so much of us. And I think, that's, what a lot of us do. But here's the thing, we're doing it without even recognizing it. And that brings us to today's Audacious Insight. It's time for an Audacious Insight where we take a quick look at something happening in the real world that reflects the power of bold thinking and intentional action. Now, when Issa Rae couldn't find roles that reflected her voice, she didn't wait for permission. She created her own series, Awkward Black Girl, on YouTube, building an audience from the ground up with limited resources, but a clear, authentic vision. That decision eventually led to the creation of Insecure and a powerful presence in Hollywood. She didn't expand her life by waiting. She expanded it by refusing to shrink and staying small. If you want to connect with Chanoa directly, learn more about her work, or even grab a copy of her book, Dream On, the first starting point I would say is check out her website. You can visit her at chanoainez.com. We're, of course, going to make sure that, all the appropriate contact details are in the show notes. And listen, if this conversation resonated with you, it left an impact, something that caused you to reflect, I want you to share it with someone who might need to hear this message right now. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. And if you haven't already, I would so appreciate if you take a moment to leave a review. Those are the things that helps more people find these great conversations. And these conversations are key because sometimes, the shift isn't about doing more. It's about seeing yourself with more clarity. And here's the thing. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Listen, I want to thank you for being here. And until next time, keep living life audaciously.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be audacious.